Ladies and gentlemen, geeks and nerds, today I'd like to show you a new addition to my logical crafting data pack that will show you the area a hostile mob will spawn in around a player. This is useful when you're building any type of mob farm to help you condition the correct area around it. To show you this data pack in action, we're going to start off in this test world, and for those that don't know, hostile mobs will spawn in a sphere around the player with a radius of 128 blocks. And this data pack that I'm going to show you will actually display that spawning sphere. So to get this to show up, all you've got to do is run the following command. If you run function logical spawn sphere show, just like that, and you'll see a whole bunch of armor stands have appeared around us. They're all glowing as well to make it easier to see. And these show the sphere that's of a radius of 128 blocks. And so any block inside this sphere is where a mob can potentially spawn. I'm just moving back now just to give you a better view of this sphere, just so you can see it from the outside. And so yeah, as we're inside a test world, I thought this would be a good excuse to do some Minecraft science. Behind me here, I have a 257 by 257 layered cube with 2 blocks of air in between each layer. It's also nighttime and I've turned off mob spawning for the moment. But if we go inside this cube into the center, I have a small command block contraption set up to show you. This gold block represents the very center of our test cube, and here are the command blocks all set up. Now what they will do is they will track where mobs will spawn. And what happens is if a zombie was to spawn, for example, we replace the block at its feet with a diamond block and then kill the mob. So as mobs spawn around us, we can keep track of exactly where they spawn. Now recently I saw Ilmango do something very similar to this when he was designing up a new zombie pigman farm, and I thought it was a good idea to replicate it here. So yeah, we're just going to do this on this full size cube so we can track exactly where mobs spawn. And I think it's going to be interesting to see at the end of this where mobs have actually spawned and look at the distribution in terms of heights and whereabouts in the sphere they spawned to see where it's all equal. And also obviously this is going to be great for us to test whether our spawning sphere armor stands are all in the right place. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on mob spawning, and yeah, we can watch this thing run and see what shape we end up with. And here I am inside my camera account. So I'm going to leave my normal player account right there in the center of this cube. Let's move all the way back. And then what we're going to do is we're going to turn on mob spawning and we're going to see what happens. As I move through our testing cube in my camera account, we're starting to see some of these diamond blocks appear. So yeah, we're going to leave this running for a little while and then we'll come back and we'll see what kind of shape we've got. So it should be a sphere. There'll also be a smaller sphere inside close to my player because mobs don't spawn within 24 blocks of the player. So yeah, this is going to be interesting to see what happens. So yeah, let's see what happens in a bit. And here we have a giant sphere of diamond blocks. It's not every day you see that in Minecraft, right? So yeah, this worked out pretty well. This took about 2.5 hours to generate. And yeah, we can see that that's definitely spherical. And we've added our spawning sphere markers, the armor stands you can see. And from a distance here, it matched up pretty well. So I'm happy that our data pack is tracking the right size sphere, so that's going to be very useful. But let's go into this sphere and have a closer look because there is something quite interesting. I'm just going up around the side of this sphere just so you can see how the armor stand track the spherical shape, and I think that does a pretty good job. So yeah, as I said, I'm pretty happy with that. And you can see obviously there's lots of holes here where we didn't get spawns on specific blocks, but yeah, I think you probably have to leave it running for quite some time to cover all of the blocks, but we get the general shape. But if we head on over to the north side, I think, yeah, down here, we head on over to the north side, around the equator, there seems to be slightly less coverage. So if we just come down here, so as you can see here, all of these blocks are relatively dense, I guess. But once we get down here to the equator on the north side, they seem to be much more sparse. So there's lots of massive gaps here. So I found this quite interesting. So what I did next was I went into a different test world and I just ran the same test, but just on a flat layer, just to see if we can get a better look at this thing. So let's hop on over there and see what that looks like. This is my flat test world, and I've done the same test here. Obviously, we're just on one flat level, so this didn't take us long to generate. But as you can see over there on the south side, and all the way around there, that spherical shape is pretty good, pretty clean. But then as we go around here, you see it's a little bit more sparse over that side. And on this side as well, we get that. But on the north side as well, it seems to be even worse. So to me, that looks like there's a definite difference in the spawn rates around the north edge equator. You can see that. So that seems, yeah, much more sparse. And I'm not quite sure why that would be. So if anyone knows, that would be interesting. But yeah, I'm sure there's a reason for that. And I'm not sure if this is a new discovery or not. But yeah, it certainly seems like mobs spawn much less in the north equator of the sphere around a player for some reason, and I'm not sure why. But yeah, if anyone knows, then stick it in the comments. Yeah, I'd really like to know. Now that you've seen the Datapack in action in a test world, let's discuss its uses in the real world. All right, so let's imagine we have this witch hut right here, and we have a farm design where our AFK spot is going to be above it, let's say roughly here. Now, what we want to do now is show our spawning sphere. So we do that with function logical spawn sphere show, just like that. And we do a quick little spin around and all of our armor stands appear. So now we can see where mobs can potentially spawn around our farm if this is our AFK spot. So now what we can do is if we just scoot on over to the edge of our sphere, now we can see which blocks need to be dealt with in terms of conditioning. So obviously if you want your farm to have the best rates, then what you need to do now is take care of these blocks. So if we're looking around the outside of our spawning sphere right here, you can see that blocks on this side of the armor stand need to be dealt with. So here you can either light them up or remove them or cover them in some way to make them non-spawnable. But the blocks on this side of the armor stand, we don't need to worry about it because we're going to be in our AFK spot and they are outside of the zone where mobs will spawn. Now, what you can also do is you can also create a perimeter, but yeah, for a lot of players, creating a perimeter in survival is a bit too much work. It's quite tricky. You can do it with like a world eater, stuff like that. So go and check out the guys on HermitCraft if you want to know how to do that. But yeah, this is also useful for looking at what caves need to be lit up below you as well. So yeah, just gives you a whole bunch of information. And this is really just a quality of life data pack to make things a bit easier for you when you want to make your spawn rates as good as possible inside your farms in survival. All right, so the other thing then is once you have done all of that work and you've got your spawning sphere all conditioned as you want it, you then want to remove all of these armor stands, right? So if we go back roughly to the middle and just make sure that all of the armor stands are loaded, and then you just need to use the function. If you do function, I can spell it, function logical spawn sphere hide, and that will remove all of the armor stands again. And so now you're all good to go and you can get your farm running and working, and yeah, it should have pretty good rates. All right, so that is about it. The last thing you need to do, of course, is to install your data pack, and there is a download link in the description. So go and download that zip file. You can also get it from my website at logicalgeekboy.com. Go over to the downloads area and you're looking for logical crafting. And then once you've got that zip file, you just need to copy it into the data pack folder of your world. And then once you've done that, just need to do the /reload command, just like that. And that will reload the data pack and make those functions we've used today available. So if you found this data pack and video useful, then please hit that like button. And if you are new, then feel free to subscribe. And if you've got any comments or suggestions or any questions, that kind of thing, then get it in that comment section. All right, my geeks, until next time, I will see you later.